I didn't know you had one.
Right. All right. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is Andy McCabe. I'm your claim doctor. I have the pleasure of speaking with Mr. Gerry Edtl with Gerry Edtl Consulting out of Corvallis, Oregon. Gerry is going to be a speaker at the upcoming Restoration 2.0 Summit in Nashville, May 4th and 5th, coming up in 2 weeks. And he has a very, very unique tack, very unique approach and proposition for all of us that used to do agent marketing. We don't anymore because it didn't work. But before we get into that, Gerry, why don't you introduce yourself to the Claim Clinic podcast audience and the Rebel Nation at large, restoration folks, and where you at, how you got where you are. We don't have a lot of time, so let's shorten that 40-year career. How about that? I've got some inside scoop on that. Then tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll get into it.
Yeah, well, thanks, Andy. I'm stoked to be here with you today. This is fun to talk to you anytime.
Fun. Pleasure's all mine, my friend.
Yeah, fun bantering back and forth, and I've been in the industry too long. I started out at the age of 18, full time. Wow. I was a technician. I loved it, man. I was an awesome cleaner. I love cleaning. Then I learned to sell, and then I sold what I produced, and one thing led to another. 34 years later, I stepped out of the franchise system and started consulting on my own about 10, 11 years ago now.
Okay.
Long story short on how we got from Nashville, Tennessee to Corvallis, which is almost back home because my wife and I are both from Portland originally.
Okay.
She got a job working at Benton Hospice service as a chaplain here. And we said, you got to go. And so we came, and I just work out of my office at home. So manage time zones, and I'm good.
Manage time zones.
That's a long story short. How's that?
Exactly right. I like it. A lot of time in the franchise world. Yeah. A lot of time. This industry's changed in 34 years.
Oh yeah.
And there are things that we do now because they used to work.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't necessarily work because we're not doing them. We're doing them the same way. Yeah. So let's talk about. You specialize in helping folks. Well, tell us about your consulting company. I won't tell the story for you.
Yeah, it's pretty simple, really. I'm obviously restoration's a niche market, and I happen to focus on a very narrow part of that small niche, which is how to get an insurance agent to recommend you. It's just a passion. I've been around long enough and done enough that I'm at a stage in life where I'm like, I'm doing what I want to do. I'm going to have fun doing it, and I have a lot of fun when I can help a restorer get their own work and
nice.
break some of that grip, that stranglehold, that addiction, if you will, that TPAs can often create. They're not necessarily all bad, but they've got some downsides. And so I have a lot of fun doing that. I have a partner. We've been at it together 3-4 years now, working together on this business. She's an awesome trainer. And so we get that done, and we'll both be together in Nashville. We'll meet folks there.
Perfect. Hopefully this episode airs before the summit. I'm going to do my best to make that happen. But if you're listening to this after May 4th, 2018, I'm sorry you missed a great summit.
That's right.
If you're listening to this before that, there's still a couple tickets available.
There you go.
Looking forward to that. You guys have a very good philosophy. You are followers of one of my favorite people in the entire world, Mr. Simon Sinek.
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit about how Simon Sinek informs your approach to business and leadership and training?
Yeah, Simon is just his work. He's the right guy at the right place, the right time in America for our country. We desperately need that message of building, a business where people, are excited to come to work, right? A place where they feel safe while they're there, not just physically, but emotionally safe, from abuse, that kind of thing. And when they go home at the end of the day, they're feeling empowered, excited about the contribution they made, made a difference in life. And,
yes.
and that just fuels my partner and I. That's our true passion. That's our most favorite thing, is to help people put that kind of a business together. And we help very few businesses do that for reasons we don't need to get into today.
Mm-hmm.
But most people we help with, this whole idea of getting work from insurance agent. But Simon's whole philosophy is just right for me. It just makes sense. Why do you do what you do? What's behind all of that? And when you line that up, it comes across in sales. It comes out in sales in your business.
It sure does. I couldn't agree more. I first saw his initial TEDx Puget Sound, I believe. Okay. His one talk that just it put him on the map, really. Yeah. In the Start With Why speech, it really changed how I viewed what I was doing. Mm-hmm. And it was so forward thinking. I copied, I took a copy of the YouTube URL from that talk, and I plastered it all over the company I was working for. Yeah. We need to listen to this. You guys need to hear this. Yeah. And it just fell on deaf ears. It was crickets. Yeah. Because it's talking about why. Why do we need to know why we do? We just be the best. We're the best. And everyone is the best. But if you don't know why you want to be the best or why you're even doing what you're doing, right, you're just not going to be fulfilled, like you just said.
That's it.
So let's talk about, I don't want to spill too much of the beans of what you're going to talk about at the summit. And I'm fully aware that you were just on another podcast last week. And if people want to get the full story, I'll just link that up.
Sure.
And they can go find that. Jonathan Grubb. Does Jonathan Grubb have not just plug him a little bit. Does he have a name for that podcast yet? I guess he's yelling at his screen right now, I'm sure.
Yeah. I think it was not your father's marketing, new age of marketing. I think that's what I read in the caption.
Oh no, that was your show. But does his podcast have a name yet?
I don't know.
Yeah. All right. Well,
it's Jonathan Grubb.
Jonathan Grubb. You're gonna find him. You're gonna find him. Interesting tidbits. I watched a little bit about that. One bit of information about the percentage of claims that are captured by different TPAs.
Yeah.
It obviously varies from carrier to carrier, but there's a carrier out there that on the low side, they're tell me about the stats of what percentage of claims are actually getting captured by the managed repair program versus going a different route.
Well, absolutely. What I can share is the data that I had when I was a part of it, and that's been a few years. I've been outside the program. I've monitored what's been going on, and it hasn't changed that much that I've been made aware of. So if somebody's got some new stats, we always want to get corrected and current.
Absolutely.
But that said, these guys are the biggest property casualty company in America, and the second largest is like not even half their size. They're a fraction of them. So these guys are huge, right? and every year we would meet. I was working for the franchisor at the time. We'd meet at the home office with all the bosses and all the presidents, VPs, all those people. And every year it was always the same on the agenda. This item always came up. It was always there. How do we get more losses through the program?
How do we get more? Yeah. How do we get more control over our losses?
Yeah, exactly. And they had the data. I mean, we provide, all of us, through Xactimate, XactNet, XactAnalysis, all the data that's going on out there, we provide them with the data. It's there. And the data clearly showed that mitigation, especially when you put mitigation on the line, it absolutely reduces the severity of a claim. And so their severities were going, it isn't that, and they'll never use the word saving money because that's just not a good legal term for them to use. But their severities were lower statistically, significantly, just because you got immediate response out there and limited the damage, right? You get it under control.
Through managed repair, through vendors, emergency response vendors. Okay.
Yeah, you were pre-authorized, go take care of, get it done, get us a bill. And so the data was significant of how much less damage occurred, secondary damage occurred after the source was stopped.
Sure.
And so that was one of the messages that they would, they got this, that this is amazing. We need to get more usage. And on top of it was customer sat was through the roof. I mean, they could show that the customers are satisfied from this kind of a service.
Okay.
And so every year, this is the agenda. How do we get more through? And every year, the answers were always the same. And that was get back out to the agents. Now, the statistic that...
Because the agents were seen as the most influential player in that decision-making process.
They were the biggest part of the influencers that they had input over. Now, they didn't have control because claims and agency are siloed, right? They're two different entities, but they bridge and they work together, and we worked with them, and so, but the statistic that was shocking, because these are the big boys, they never got more than 17% of all claims, all property casualty claims, to go through the program.
17%.
Yeah, and the goal was, if we could get it to 40, this would be unbelievable numbers. We don't have to get it to 100%. We don't have to get it to 80%. We don't have to get it to 50%. If we can get it to 40, this is going to be huge. And of course, we're sitting on the other side going, man, that would be more than double our volume. That would be awesome. We want to do that too. So everyone is highly motivated, right? And this went on.
Oh, you were speaking. I got to keep. Yeah, you were speaking from the seat of a franchise player.
Yes, correct.
Yeah. Okay. So more program work meant more volume for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because back then, that particular company had the exclusive on this thing. I mean, we were
right.
Oh my gosh,
you were the player.
We were the player, and so motivation is high, and we're excited to be a part of this. And the strategy that they wanted us to use was go to our agents and tell them the story, what I just told you, the two statistics. Severities are down, customer sat's up. Use the program. This is a no-brainer, right? This is a no-brainer.
Did the agents care?
Well, I sat in the room where agents and claims were there together. I did some of that. I was responsible for sending people out, the franchisee out, to go call on the agent. Here's the message. Here's what we're doing. And agents would bobblehead. I watch. It's the only way I know to describe it. They would smile and just, yeah. This, and they will say, yeah, we do. We use it's, yeah, great. But and so you think. I mean, I remember the first time I go, man, this is killer. We really nailed it, right?
Hit it out of the park.
And we go to the next meeting.
I killed that room.
Yeah, we go to the next meeting, and guess what? We're hearing the same data. No change.
Yeah. No change.
And so you know what the message was? Well, try harder.
Where was the disconnect?
Yeah, I watched this for years, and I realized, I think, probably three significant takeaways from that. The first one is claims knows. The claim department, claim people, the leadership, they know the truth. And the truth is agents are influencers, or they wouldn't waste their time with them.
Sure, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, the data doesn't lie.
No. Number two, the message that we were sending, customer sat, saving, reducing costs, reducing severities, isn't enough.
Yeah, it's not enough to preach loss ratio.
No, it's enough to get anybody to say, yeah, good, makes sense, right? It makes sense. It's true, but it isn't quite enough to change my behavior.
Right. Well, it was an argument for here. I'm sorry, podcast listeners, I'm pointing at my head. It was an argument for the thinking brain,
right?
But it had zero emotional connection.
That's it. It really didn't. And the assumption is just, boy, if you retain your customers, you're going to make more money. If you lower your severities, you're going to make more money because you're going to be more profitable. Your loss ratio is going to be better. But to your point, we're pointing to our heads now. The head is disconnected to, now I'm pointing to the heart, right?
Yep.
Because, and those two things, if you care about what's in somebody's head, you have to connect what's in their heart. And we never did that. It never happened. It never really happened. Now, there were people who got that, and they recognized that, and they would comply and use because of that. But the majority, the large mass, you don't get, and that's go back to start with why. Had we had Simon Sinek and started with the why, okay, then we would have had a different outcome. I'm quite confident. But so those were the two big takeaways that I sat in the room with. And the third takeaway, which you see it instantly, and that is, well, if 17% goes through, I'm not as smart as a fifth grader, but I think that sounds like about 83% is not. Hello.
That's 83% of the target-rich environment.
The vendor program. Why are you a slave to the TPA? Why are you a slave to that when 80+% is out there for? And this was one of the internal gripes and legitimate gripes that the franchisee people would have, in fairness to them. Hey, my competitors are out there. They're getting the work direct. They're not in the program. They don't have to use this limited price list. They don't have to jump through all these hoops.
They don't have to jump through these hoops. And whoa.
Oh my gosh. The mic dropped for all you podcast listeners.
That was a mic drop.
Yeah, but an unintended mic drop.
Literal mic drop.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So you got all this work going on out there, and people are frustrated, and understandably so, right? I mean, it's crazy.
So was there, in your time there, was there a satisfactory solution?
Not ever. I think what eventually came, and this came after I left, was they said, well, we're going to fix this. We're going to put new technology in their offices. We're going to put it in every single office, and we're going to create in their phones. It's all new hardware, software, and we're going to create the ability to direct connect. So when a client calls the agent, okay, all you have to do is say, hey, I'm sorry you got a problem. Hang on, I'll connect you. No more, here's the 800 number. Call them. It was direct connect them.
Okay.
And the caveat was get the veiled threat. Get this. And you're being recorded. Your calls are being recorded, so we'll know when you do it differently, right?
Oh.
And I was like, I'm gone now, but this is what's going on. And agents are telling me this stuff, right? I mean, I'm not getting this from, I don't have any connections now. I'm gone, right?
Right.
So I'm listening to this stuff, and agents and this is through the people that I've been working with over the last 5-6 years now. We've gone through this journey, and right up until when they announced we're going to do technology, and it rolled out in a year and a half. It took them almost 2 years to roll it out across the country. These agents said, yeah, all it really changes is I no longer have to input the first notice of loss into the computer. They still have their influence. So the disconnect, I mean, again, when all you do, point to our heads, right? When all you do is put the head into this, fail to get the heart piece connected, that why behind all of this, so the disconnect is still there. And I know it's still there, not because I have statistics, not because I sit in corporate rooms, but because I listen to the people that I work with who are talking to these very agents. There's only one company out there that has actually terminated their agents over non-compliance. And
that's scary.
And it's scary. And that's just a reflection of who they really are, right?
They really are. Well, yeah, we're going to keep that.
Yeah, you know what I'm doing, right? Yeah. Podcast listeners, just forget it. Don't even ask.
I'm going to gloss over that part. But their compliance is much, much higher.
Yeah. Their compliance is much higher.
But it's still not 100%.
Yeah, their customer sat is much lower, and the disconnect is, of course, they don't understand why they're losing their customers, and it's like, your underwriting department's canceling them.
Yes.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Come on.
I mean, that goes back to what I've said several times is you're you're turning your insureds, your customers, into the enemy as soon as they make a claim.
Exactly. Yeah. And the agent's sitting out there going, how is this a good decision for me?
Exactly.
In this scenario? It's brutal.
Yeah. And it's not about loss ratio at that point. It's like, you're going to kill my client. I have to go make 2 more sales today because one of my clients had a claim and you're going to drop them.
Yep. Yeah.
You're going to fight them. Anyway, that's a story for a different podcast altogether.
Yeah.
For all y'all out there that don't know my past, I started in the restoration industry as a stop and drop. What do you call it? Stop, drop, and roll?
Stop, drop, and roll.
Stop, drop, and roll. That was my job. I had 3 ring binders, about 2.5 inches thick each. I had 4 of them. I was in the Portland market, and probably once a quarter, I would see every single agent in the Portland market. Yeah. And what was I doing, Gerry? What was I doing at that time? This is 1998.
Well, you were a candy jar delivery guy. You were a donut dropper, and the agent for them, you were a professional office visitor.
Exactly right. One time, and I know you've got a couple good stories. I want you to tell me the story about the tick sheet, but I want to tell my story first. I went into this guy. I've seen this agent. I don't remember who he was selling for. I think he was an independent agent. He was in Northwest Portland. I remember that. And I came in once with my notepads. We spent so much money designing and printing notepads.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, are you a restoration company? No, we print notepads.
Yeah.
We might actually do some restoration here and there, but we really just do notepads.
Yeah.
And I came in and he just put his hand up and he said, stop. I'm like, sure. Yeah. What's up? And he said, and he actually didn't even say a word. He just held his hand up. So I stopped and I'm listening. I'm watching. He turns around him, and behind him, he's got a closet like I've got here, only closer. He just turned in his chair, opened the double doors to the closet, and I saw 4 piles about 4.5 feet high of notepads. Some of them were mine.
Yeah.
Most of them were from my competitors.
Yep.
And that's when I had that moment of, what the hell are we doing?
Yeah. This isn't working.
This is not, that's just not effective.
And Andy, in fairness to you and in fairness to people who are out there, 20 years ago, that was innovative because no one called on the agent. They were ignored. And when we did it, you could see from your route, you could see losses coming in from that route, and it worked every time you go, every single time. Mm-hmm. And for years, 10 years, it worked. So 15 years ago, it worked. Somewhere in the last 15 years, and I think it was more like about 10 years ago, it pretty much, the result stopped producing.
It became diminishing returns.
It is diminishing return, and it still is. And so for those whose answer is, well, just do more of it. So instead of having 1 person, I'll do 2. And instead of seeing them once a quarter, I'll see them once a month, so that brings me, you asked, you wanted the tick sheet story. So true story, an agent in the Denver market. Now that's a big market. It's a big area. It's a large market by any standard. And he just got entertained and said, I wonder how many contractors types come in my office in a month. And so he just, he's got his pencil and he's got a little blank sheet and he's got a little tick sheet, right?
Probably somebody else's notepad.
Yeah, probably his notepad. Every time somebody comes in, he just puts a check by it, right? Kind of got his team doing his little game. They got that. He said, we stopped counting after 300 people came through our doors. The month wasn't over.
The month wasn't over.
And you realize, and that's an extreme example, but it's so funny. It's just so funny to think about, how refreshing it is to that agent and that staff when you do it differently
Mm-hmm.
and you add value. And
you actually have a value proposition.
Exactly. You have, yeah, exactly. And the value proposition of, we go out and tell them we're reducing their severity and that we're satisfying their customer retention is up, isn't going to do it.
No.
And CE and continuing ed classes, sorry, it used to work great.
It's all online now.
It is, and everybody does it, and you're all the same.
You're all the same.
You're all the same. And golf, that's nice, but these guys make a good living. They can pay for their own golf.
Yeah, they can golf with people they actually enjoy being around.
Yes.
This whole podcast is about how we can be better restoration folks. And this today we're obviously talking about marketing. And it's timely. We have the PLRB happening right now this week, I believe. We have the experience happening the week after. I spend a lot of time on LinkedIn, and I was on there today, and I'm seeing post after post after post. Hey, we're so-and-so. Look at our booth. Come find us at booth number 187. Look at our booth. Look at our booth. Look at our booth. How much effect is that supposed to have on anyone? It's the stop, drop, and roll of conventions.
Yeah.
No one wants to know what your booth looks like.
Oh, yeah. Oh, wait, Andy. Yes, they do. You know who wants to know, and you want to know who's coming by to look? You know the answer. Yeah. Everybody else that's doing what you're doing is going, oh, dang, that's a good.
Oh,
it's kind of like our websites. We copy each other. It's like we're missing the point here. Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, that's all right. Gerry, so give us the punchline. What should we do instead? Or how should we change our mindset so we can be more successful?
With agents?
With agents in particular, yes.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you could probably take this any different way, depending on your audience, depending on if you're going to adjusters. PLRB is obviously risk managers.
Yeah.
They don't need adjusters, risk managers, and agents don't need us to take them golfing or buy them beer or give them a pin or a yo-yo with our logo on it. Right. So what do they need?
Yeah, they need value. You have to be, let's go back to the old acronym that's everyone's favorite FM radio station, WIIFM, what's in it for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Remember that. And while that's a terribly selfish kind of a comment to make, when you stop and you step back and just kind of get past that emotional, that's kind of awful to say, but that's human nature.
Mm-hmm.
What can you do for me? And I can tell you that to the agent, the perception, and you and I both know perception's reality, mm-hmm. and their perception is you guys really can't do much for me. I mean, you can do those two things. We know that. You can do that for me. But what else can you do? And the perception is you really can't do much for me. Mm-hmm. And I think there's things we do that we don't realize are connecting with the heart. Exactly. And it has to do with, and I learned this from adjusters, back in the day, you adjusters, I mean, let's face it, before programs, and by the way, that big company that only gets this much through their programs, mm-hmm. all those adjusters are still active, right?
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. But even if the program isn't active anymore.
That's right.
Oh, they would just give it away.
Yeah, they have the ability to refer. And to the adjuster, you never let the adjuster get surprised.
Right.
If you
don't surprise me and don't wake me up.
That's it. And when you violate those rules, simple rules, you're in trouble. And it's like, why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you give me a heads up? That customer's screaming at me. Why they would never come out and say it, but you were working for them.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
You had their back. They trained you that way. And it was common sense. You're working together. And when those little things are how you add value. And of course, the sharp person would say, hey, I just want to give you a heads up.
Right.
Okay, so now what have I done? All right. Now I just got credit. I just gave them the feeling of importance. They need that, mm-hmm. right? They mm-hmm. want that. all humans do, but adjusters especially, right? We know that to be true. They got to be in control, because if they're not in control, they're in trouble, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, it's that little simple act of saying, you matter, you're important, and I cared enough to give you a heads up.
That I noticed.
Yeah. And
I
so
noticed something that you might need to know.
Yeah. And so here's the mistake we make. We go to the agent and we think, okay, well, let's give them a heads up on the job. And so we go in with pictures, and pictures are okay because, they like to, oh, wow. Ooh, okay. And then we say, well, hey, that worked good. So let's go in with, data, a diagram, and, all the numbers. They don't care.
They don't want to know how the sausage is made.
But get this. What do you think happens when you take them a picture of their insured?
Yes.
Or a selfie with you and the insured.
This is somebody they may not have ever met before.
They've never met them. They're like, think about so many of them. I can buy my insurance from any carrier directly online or through their 800 number.
Yep.
Well, what happens to my policy? In most companies, it gets assigned to a local, where there are local agents. That system gets assigned. So they've never met me, right? Or I got a book of business from some other agent who's out of business, right? And depending upon
you inherited these clients.
You inherited them, or you bought them, whatever, So my agent actually died years ago in Nashville, a great agent, and he died. Quite unexpectedly, he died. And we were like, oh, I got reassigned my policy. I got a form letter in the mail saying, this is what's happening. This is your new agent. 2 years later, I finally met him.
Wow.
2 years. So he's never met me, so a simple photo of and people will say, well, you can't do that. Why should I do that? Okay. Understand the why. Okay. So when the agent sees, oh, that's one of mine. Yeah, that's one of yours. and when you can frame that picture in the context of that customer's life, the agent gets a window into, oh, look at that. That's interesting. They got grandkids. I need to be talking to him or her. Why? Well, because
life insurance.
Exactly.
I got other lines to sell here.
These are little things, and we make the mistake of thinking, well, that's what's important. No, what's important is your message.
Yes.
How you made them feel. You're important. You matter. I thought you might like to see this because it's your customer and their home and their, what's important to them. And when you connect that dot, you get to the heart now.
You connect
the two. You connect the head and the heart together, and you begin to add value. They begin to change that perception that says, hey, you're different. And so to all you restorers out there that have got great relationships with a few agents, and most people I talk to, Andy, will tell me, I've got a handful of agents that send me everything they've got. Now, occasionally I meet somebody that says they got 20 or 30, and most of them are just blowing smoke at me, or they haven't actually statistically added up the numbers and they don't really know.
Sure. That's just
but a few do. But the overwhelming majority of us out there have a handful, if that. And it's like, because you have a handful, it can happen, but you can't quite figure out how to get more of them. Because like, if I could double that, I could go from a handful to 2 handfuls. I might have, for many restores, that's all the work I want.
That's all you need. Yeah.
That's all I need. I don't need any more, And so, and I've actually had clients tell me, there's 5 guys I want to get. If you can help me get them, my return on investment is going to be up through the roof because these guys are huge businesses. Okay. You have to connect that why. You've got to get to that heart of the issue with them. And what's happened is, on those few that you've got a great relationship with, that agent, maybe not consciously, but subconsciously, they figured out there's little things you're doing that give me value.
Yeah. And you might not even know.
You don't know what it is. Exactly. And it's that little thing of, well, I took pictures of the house. Get one of the person.
Yeah.
Why? Because they've never met him. And then you say, I thought you might like to see him. You may not have met her. Right.
It shows another level of understanding.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're putting yourself in their shoes.
That's it.
OP, one of my other favorite restoration rebels out of LA, great guy. He tells a great story about he went into this. They specialize. Allied specializes in high-end clients, high-end clientele, big, expensive houses. Mm-hmm. And he went into his house once, and he saw these pictures on the wall. And he was chatting up the client. I'm not sure if it was a fire or water damage. It doesn't matter to this point of the story. He said, "Oh, that's an interesting picture." And he looked closer at it. And what he's in the bottom right-hand corner, he saw a little scribble. And he's like, "That looks like it says Picasso." I'm not sure, but I think it says Picasso. So he asked the insured, the homeowner about it. He's like, "Oh, where'd you get that print?" And the homeowner said, "That's no print."
Hello.
It was a water damage. That's what it was. Yeah. And so right then, he just alarm bells went off. He started taking all kinds of photos. And as soon as he left that house, he went straight to the agent.
Yep.
And he said, "Did you know we've got a house full of Picassos? Were you aware?" Mm-hmm. Probably wasn't. But that's things that agents would care deeply about. Because what if it was lost and then it wasn't insured properly?
That's right.
Because the agent wasn't aware of actual Picassos hanging in one of their insured houses. It's priceless information.
It is. And it's the getting this. I've got the same story. It was also a Picasso, but it was in Arizona. It was a water damage. And this poor agent was, he said, I inherited this book of business. I've never met him. Mm. The agent got out there immediately he called him from his car and said, "You need to get out here." Right.
Now.
Because this is a $1.2 million Picasso, literally. So I got a picture of it. I'll show it to you sometime.
The artwork in some of these places are more than the house.
It's crazy. And it isn't, people want to think, wow, that agent made a policy, they sold a policy, which the agent did. And, in OP's case, I'm sure they probably, if they didn't have it insured, they do now.
Exactly.
And so, but the commission on that isn't great. It's not that, and it's not their errors and omission that you protected. That's important. Mm-hmm. The commission's important. Mm-hmm. This is the thing. All of those things are important. They're just like customer sat and severities, right? Mm-hmm. They're important.
And loss ratio, okay.
Yeah, but you're missing the real connection. The connection is you matter. I thought I saw this and I thought you might want to know this. And when you do stuff like that, and you frame it right, that agent says, "Oh, you're right. Oh my gosh, thank you so much." You hear it in their voice gets a little shaky. "Oh boy, thank you." They're trying not to, what in their pants, right? Mm-hmm. Just oh boy, and it isn't the sale.
No,
it's how you made them feel. You see it?
I so like that.
If your why has, my goal is, okay, what was my why? Well, if it's I just want to make money, I just want more clients. Well, good luck with that, right? Mm-hmm. You might as well go be a corporate franchisor type, right?
Yes.
And that's not fair because there's plenty that actually care. So
that's true. That's true.
I don't.
Let's stop the hate mail right there.
No. Don't go that way. But that's the feeling that you get, right?
Yes.
And when you think differently like this, you start to see things altogether different. You'll hear conversations with the customer, and then you can bring that customer to that agent and get the two of them to talk together. You're the guy that brought it together. I mean, how do we feel about Jonathan Grubb? The guy's amazing.
Because he has just a way of making other people feel like they matter.
And Andy, I can't recommend him enough. And it isn't. I don't want a commission from him. Thank you very much. I don't care for one. That's not the point. I can't recommend him enough. Why? Because the guy connects you with people that matter,
Yes.
And
Yes.
that's what we need to be thinking about, that agent. It's about being their heart with their customer.
Mm-hmm.
And when you start to line those things up, I'm telling you, agents will change their perception.
I like that. I like that. Let's stop it right there. I think that's a great note to stop on. Let's put a bow on it, though.
Okay.
Where did let's wrap it back to Simon Sinek. He tells a great story about the Million Man March, the march, Dr. King and his speech. How many hundreds of thousands of people showed up on a day in May in the middle of summer. There was no email evite. There was no text message.
No social media.
No social media. There was just an idea and a bunch of people with a shared why.
Right.
And people didn't show up for Dr. King. Why'd they show up?
His mission, his vision.
They showed up for themselves. They showed up because they wanted to be a part of it.
They want to be a part.
Because showing up meant something, just being there meant something to them.
Right.
And that just gets right down to the why of whoever we're communicating with. Agents, adjusters,
property managers, plumbers,
anybody.
Right.
We've got to understand them and try to align why they do what they do,
right,
with why we do what we do.
Right.
And people want to buy and work with people who believe what they believe. And that's
right. That's it.
And that's hard, because if you believe that an agent wants more notepads, you're going to have a rough time, because no one believes that anymore.
That's right.
It just doesn't work. All right, Gerry, one last piece. I like to end every episode with one piece of advice you want to give out to all the restoration contractors out there that are going to listen to this. What's one good takeaway, something they can do and implement to help them with their businesses or their lives?
Don't ignore the agent that's connected to the job that you're doing today. Acknowledge them. Make a phone call. Figure out who they are. Make a phone call and ask them a simple question. Just a simple question. What message can I communicate to your customer for you? Because I know if you could, you'd go, but you can't. So I can. So I'm in your play. What message? Don't ask them, what can I do for you? Because they'll say, oh, nothing.
Right.
You ask them, what message can I give your customer? Don't worry what the answer is. The answer might be superficial. Right?
Yes.
But the feeling they're going to get is, to you, I matter. And I matter to somebody today. Right?
That's fundamental. I love it.
That's it.
So we've got GerryEdtl.consulting.com. Is that correct?
Yeah.
We're going to link that up in the show notes. You help restoration contractors make that connection.
Yep.
And it's not as easy as it sounds.
No.
Otherwise, we wouldn't have consultants to help us with these things.
Andy, I've spent 10,000 hours designing the system.
Exactly.
And the system makes it work.
So, yeah, if we could listen to a podcast or watch a YouTube video and do this, Gerry will be out of a job. But he does really good work. I invite everyone to check him out. Yeah. And Gerry, I really appreciate your time. It's been a pleasure. This last, 57 minutes flew by.
Oh my gosh, are you kidding me?
I appreciate you. I appreciate everything you do for me and my business and the restoration industry at large. We are grateful, and I am humbled that folks like Jonathan Grubb feel that they can connect you and I and have that confidence that we're going to carry the mantle.
Also grateful. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. We will
see you in Nashville, baby.
We'll see you in Nashville.